the United Kingdom is getting ready for World War III. We're entering a dangerous territory where red lines are drawn. Both sides are now digging in their heels, and I think almost kind of feels like, you start out playing chess, you've got a lot of pieces.
Sure.
Now there's a lot of pieces missing from the board. That's kind of how I feel like and now we're getting close to checkmate, right? And so people are being cornered. Someone's done their tower moves. You don't know
No,
anything about chess.
nothing
You
is,
know,
this
yeah,
is
someone
not
just did a
reached.
castle. Someone just did a castling move. You have no idea what I'm talking about, do you?
Nope.
Yeah. Someone
I
jumped on the
mean,
mushroom and the Koopa Troopa.
okay.
Now am I getting close to you? Like
I read the book, The Queen's
Bullet
Gambit,
Bill. Yeah.
and I don't
But
even.
it's getting close. It's getting really close. And a UK general is now readying his troops for World War III. So here is the Daily Mail piece today. Britain's top army general has told his troops to prepare for a fight to beat Putin's armies in a European land war. It has emerged tonight. General
Okay,
Patrick.
but wait, let me just remind said person you left Europe. So how come if you're a general in the UK, but you can wage war in Europe even though there was Brexit? Like, I object to this, but
No,
okay, please.
there's gonna be a theme in today's show, which there's a lot of flip-flopping back and forth. Like,
Yeah.
well, we really hate fossil fuels, but now we really need them.
We're gonna leave Europe, but if there's a war, we're gonna get back in, right?
Right.
We're all about it, or wage one ourselves.
Right. So there's a lot of whataboutism. Like what
I don't think that's whataboutism. It's like, you left this party, you cannot come back and decide what's served at the dinner.
it's kind of like breaking up with someone and then like thinking like, well, maybe that would have worked out, and then kind of going back to that person.
I don't know. I don't think your analogies are firing tonight, but maybe stop them and keep going back to the news.
All right, you want to go back to chess analogies?
No.
All right. So General Sir Patrick Sanders, not Colonel Sanders, you might know as your favorite chicken place. General Sir Patrick Sanders, who is the general in the British Army, assumed overall command of the British Army this week. So he's a big guy. He's a head honcho. He's warning soldiers that, quote, we are the generation that must prepare the army to fight in Europe once again as Russia's invasion of Ukraine rocks global stability. This is what the Daily Mail piece continues to say. It says, in a tub-thumping message to British troops, he wrote, I am the first chief of the general staff since 1941 to take command of the army in the shadow of a land war in Europe involving a continental power. The scale of the enduring threat from Russia shows that we've entered a new era of insecurity. It's my singular duty to make our army as lethal and effective as it can be. The time is now, and the opportunity is ours to seize. Almost like I'm listening to like Patton, like the famous Patton speech or something like that. I mean, that's what it kind of sounds like here. So General Sir Patrick Sanders, not the chicken guy, has warned his troops to prepare to fight and beat Putin's armies in a European land war. Why this talk of World War III? What happened in the past few days to ratchet things up? Well, Lithuania happened. As my son was saying earlier, Lithuania happened. So all things hinge around Lithuania right now. So why Lithuania? Well, this small Baltic country of Lithuania started blocking rail shipments from the Russian city of Kaliningrad into Russia. They have to go through Lithuania. So let's take a look at a map to provide some context here and some history. So this is a map to take a look at and get some context here. If you're not really familiar with Kaliningrad, it used to be called Königsberg, which is one of my favorite, one of my favorite beers in Germany, by the way, is Königsdunkel,
Yes,
which is
that's not the same.
King's Dark. So this used to be a German city, of course. During the Potsdam Agreement, it was then said, hey, you're done in Germany. Now you're a Russian city, Soviet city. 95% Soviet Russian speaking there. There's almost no German speakers in all of Kaliningrad anymore. Anyway, it is a Russian city. It is a major port area for Russia, and very, very important. So here's my little map that I drew with my little red pen. And on this little red map, you can see that's the rail line. Those are rail lines there on this map. So the connection between Kaliningrad into Russia, those connections are very, very important. It's very, very important, okay? And this, if we also look at the new Silk Road, we've talked about this here on the show before under China's Belt and Road Initiative, right? So take a look at this rail lines that started construction about 4 years ago, meant to They start in Kaliningrad, basically, then avoid the busier border between Poland and Belarus. At Brest, the freight trains go 9,000 kilometers all the way into China, right, through Lithuania. They continue on the Trans-Siberian Railway through Belarus, Russia, Kazakhstan, all the way through, right, all the way to China. Incredibly important. In fact, Germany has basically been relying on all of these rail routes. Even DHL, which has been, headquartered in Germany, has been able to cut down transportation times into China with all of their distribution through these rail lines. So Europe taking advantage of these rail lines as well. So cutting off these rail lines is incredibly important. Here's the Mirror UK and what they say about World War III. The UK will physically cease to exist if the new standoff in Lithuania triggers a nuclear World War III, warned a retired Russian general and military expert. He told Russian state TV the West is playing with fire and blockading Russian enclave Kaliningrad to prevent sanctioned goods reaching the territory via NATO state Lithuania. And then he lashed out at this British general, Sir Patrick Sanders, not the chicken guy, who took command of the UK's land forces this week with a rallying call to troops to prepare to fight and beat Russian forces in World War III. So it's a lot of chest thumping and back and forth right now, but they're not playing around. This is very serious, deadly serious. Like for those people who might be watching thinking, these guys just talk all the time. The same kind of talk unfolded at the beginning of World War II.
Yes.
Right? So he says in this mirror piece says this: he doesn't understand that as a result of the Third World War, Britain will physically cease to exist, he says. The island will vanish. So I have no idea where he or his descendants will live. Russia's saying, we're going to wipe this island away. Britain, you will be gone. So, I mean, not something to lightly talk
these
about.
are not words that you just say, right?
Right.
A land war, which again, it's a stretch of the imagination to figure out what that would even look like anymore, because which landmass, using which types of weapons, remote or drone, it does feel like we don't have an idea of what this will even be, but military experts do, right? And they feel comfortable throwing these words around, even though sentiment inside Europe and the West is decreasing for this type of conflict.
Patrick Lancaster today, who we're fans of here, he's done a great job covering the Donbass region. He's questioning, hey, did HIMARS weapons that NATO has sent, the U.S. has sent to Ukraine, were they used to attack and hit inside the region that he's covering? Imagine that now.
Well, because most Western media, I've counted it up, the Associated Press, Reuters, Wall Street Journal, NBC News are all saying that Ukraine is attacking inside these separatist regions now. That is something we have been reporting for a long time, and the Western media has been loath to do.
Or saying it's a conspiracy theory.
Right, but now all Western media agrees that this is happening, and they sort of frame it around, well, we lost it to Russia, so now we're fighting to get it back, right?
So back to Lithuania, why this is so important. I want to provide some historical context here. So now Lithuania is appearing to pass the buck over to the EU and NATO, basically saying we had nothing to do with this. It's the EU's fault. They have these sanctions and they're making us do it. So here's the Financial Times up on your screen. Nikolai Patrushev, Russia's Security Council secretary and one of President Vladimir Putin's closest confidants, said during a trip to Kaliningrad on Tuesday that Russia would react to such hostile actions after Lithuania began enforcing the sanctions. Patrushev said appropriate measures would be taken in the near future, warning that their consequences will have serious negative influence on the population of Lithuania, according to the Interfax news agency. Lithuania said it was complying with an EU directive not to allow the transit of goods covered by sanctions imposed over Russia's war in Ukraine. These include iron and steel, luxury goods, some other products banned in earlier sanctions packages, which amount to a quarter of total Russian rail supplies to Kaliningrad. So Lithuania said passenger travel and the transit of non-sanctioned goods were unaffected. So basically, and here is a tweet from Richard Hanania. I like this tweet. He says, Lithuania admits it's blockading Kaliningrad because of the NATO guarantee. What a brilliant strategic move it is to bring defenseless countries into a military alliance and embolden them to behave recklessly against powerful neighbors.
after a threat that says it will negatively affect your population, right?
Yeah, basically we're going to wipe you off the map. So good for Lithuania, basically saying no. It was NATO that asked us to do this. It was EU asked us to do this. So we're doing it. We're going along with the sanctions, and they're going to be wiped off. I mean, this is the problem here. So this might not look at. Let's take a look at this map again, because it might not seem like much. How could this provocation, this little provocation, you might say, cutting off Kaliningrad from the rest of Russia, how could that spark World War III? Well, the very same thing happened in World War II, which forced Germany to attack Poland. So just for some context here, Germany invades Poland. Before September 1939, Poland did not allow the passage of German trains, mostly carrying coal from Germany's mainland into East Prussia. Also, very similar to today, Poland also rejected Germany's suggestion to build a suspended railway through the Polish corridor to avoid all of that area. They then went back and forth on this for about a year. They were negotiating. And then Germany said, we're done. The attack happened, right? It was almost entirely focused on the rail corridor to Germany in Poland. And here's video of this. This is the invasion. It happens all over a rail line, guys. I'm just trying to provide some,
over a transit of goods.
Yes.
In order to sell things to you, to live a life that you're told that you can't live without these products.
So there's historical precedent for it in this same area. So just for a moment, picture let's just play this role. You were going to do some role playing on the show today.
Okay.
Picture the United States for a minute, right? Just think I'm let's say the state of Georgia were to step in and just cut off all rail and connections between New York City and Florida or something. There'd be a civil war.
Sure.
Actually, that's kind of what happened in America's Civil War, right? Not in Georgia, but you get the picture. Now imagine this happening in Mexico or Canada. We have U.S. rail lines that go through Canada.
Yeah.
Right? On their way to
oil pipelines also.
We've been on those rail lines, right?
Sure.
And Canada has been a good steward of that. We're a good relationship. But what if Canada's no, because of, our alliance with Mexico, you're not allowed to get access to your Alaskan shipments anymore. What would the United States do? How many people in the chat watching right now, what do you think the United States would do? Drop us a comment right now. Do you think the United States would just roll over?
Respond with force to the country that's perpetuating that.
That's exactly what they would do. I mean, the United States would not tolerate it, and Russia's not going to tolerate being cut off from Kaliningrad, one of their most important and vital ports, and the hub of their navy, by the way.
Yes.
So you're not going to cut these guys off from this.
It would seem that Russia's having a stronger response to this than any of the perfunctory sanctions that happened through the European Union.
Yeah,
or
that's the way it felt like to me. It's I'm going through this. I'm like, this is like rhetoric we haven't really heard before.
Yes, it wasn't just, please don't do that. We don't like it. Don't kick our athletes out of your athletic competitions. This seems more serious talk.
It seems a lot bigger.
Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We've been banned, we've been blocked, we've been censored. That's why we started our own website, to stay connected with you for free.
That's right. So head on over to redacted.inc and make sure you're connected with us. You can sign up again at redacted.inc, not .com.